I've been watching Hallmark Hall of Fame movies, and most of them are free on YouTube, and they've really been helping me out. They seem to be very North Node Chiron in energy, a lot of Mercury vibes as well. And that's very helpful for me because I've got the North Node, Chiron, those two are conjunct, and I've also got Mercury. All three of these are in the sign of Libra in my seventh, sometimes eighth house in my birth chart. And these movies have really been helping me see how uncomfortable I am with looking different, seeming different, sounding different from others. It's something that I struggled with a lot when I was a kid, and still struggle with today. Huh. And it's interesting because today, it's seen as being fun, cool. It's very much accepted in this culture, even desirable, to be distinctly different in some interesting way in our youth culture. And as a kid, and when I was in high school as well, I was very different. With high school, though, specifically, I was quite different in the way that I dressed. I was one of two girls who dressed with bold colors, loud prints, mostly thrifted. It was very 1950s, anti chic, high waisted pants, turbans, hair scarves, orthopedic shoes, but I was still masking. The way that I dressed was very different, but somehow it it helped me hide who I was. I hid behind that. It was a cool, interesting expression of my difference, but it was done in a way that I felt was most palatable for others. And it added to my persona. People enjoyed seeing the spectacle that I put on. I was doing a lot of smiling, mimicking people's expressions in conversation. I was always nice, never not pretending. But then there was also that darker undercurrent. And eventually that mask, it cracked in high school, and I was having meltdowns at home. I was procrastinating on assignments to the point of not handing them in, and that was not, regular for me, let's say. I changed my friend group. I started dressing in a lot more, with a lot more Scorpio kind of elements, like black, tight, striking. So still seeking that attention and seeking praise externally, but it was a very different kind of feel. And then I watched this interview with this woman who is on the ASD spectrum. And just hearing her speaking about masking, that's where I started hearing that term. It started with this interview that I watched just a few months ago. And I could really relate. Yeah, because, as a kid, I really struggled with other kids and I had some sort of behavioral issues, nothing like big that it became an issue in my studies, but it was an issue in my dynamics with the kids that I went to school with, right? Um, and something else that I've also been doing is listening to Gabor Mate. It's been great for getting me into my heart space. I was watching this video and it was about a celebrity that I usually wouldn't pay too much attention to. And as I was watching this video, um, my intellect was sort of saying, okay, let's just scroll past this. I'm not really wanting to give it the time of day, right? Because I went straight into judgment. And I've been practicing stopping myself and asking myself, well, what do I know? I don't know. What do I know? How do I know, if this video is going to be something really beneficial for me or not? So instead of using my habitual mind, my thought processes um, of pattern habit to discern, air quotes, the worthiness of the video, which is arrogant. And, we can have all sorts of mental processes that happen in less than a second. And we're not checking. So we don't see how arrogant some of our mental processes are. But, anyways, I gave my heart the moment, the space to discern for me. Instead of relying on my intellect to do that, I gave my heart the space to discern. I wanted to trust my heart, trust that it could know for me. And I listened to the video. I was keeping my intellect at bay, putting my heart right at center stage. As I was listening, there were things that were said that ideologically I didn't agree with. And I understood that I did not recognize those things as truth, and it was okay, because intuitively I understood what to leave on the table. But my heart was resonating, responding to the feelings in the video. There was a feeling of love, compassion, honesty, humility, different virtues flowering as one in my heart as I listened. And I felt more benefit in that moment than I had in so many months. And that's the power of my heart when it's in a good place and when I'm nurturing it so that it can be in a good place. And when I'm giving it room to breathe, to be with the intellect. My intellect learns from my heart. It reminds me of women and the feminine. I think women nowadays, souls in general in the West, are really intellect-centered. And the intellect is a very masculine space. The intellect is beautiful, but the heart is beautiful as well. The heart is powerful. Transformation starts with the heart. It begins in the heart. We're always speaking about the power of transforming habits. And astrologically, which body rules the feelings, the emotional thinking, habitual thinking, habits, rituals, routines? That's the moon. The moon represents the mother, right? She's the one who rocks us to sleep at night. She's the one who makes sure that we go to bed at the same time every day. The moon rules cyclic change. It rules fluctuation, water, all feminine things. And I was limiting myself, beating my feminine down. So how did I move through this, Chiron and Libra? I'm shifting the scales. Instead of focusing on the intellect, the masculine, I'm now focusing on the feminine, the heart, my heart. Instead of looking externally, wanting to initiate, act, decide with creator energy, I'm looking within, yin energy, balance to the masculine, wanting to consider, discern what's working from what's not working, using Virgo to check and change. I let the heart discern. The heart is feeling. It's in the mind because the mind is where I experience things, where I experience life. So the heart is naturally in a process of discerning via how it feels. This is made clear because the feelings are clear, because the heart is feeling that it is in a safe space. The intellect is respecting it, and in its way, its function, and bowing to its way and its function. In my life, it was the heart who usually would bow for the intellect. So the heart is feeling, and the intellect, because of that, can now see and take action, that masculine energy in its full respect, with the feeling of trust and faith in itself, all thanks to the heart. But that was all thanks to the intellect for backing down and respecting the sensitivity of the heart. It's a cycle of procedural respect. It's reciprocity. which is a very Libra thing. It's reciprocity, it's yin yang, and that's the power of the heart when I'm giving it room to breathe. And that was actually the beginning of my appreciating animals. Previously, I didn't really think about animals, even though I've been a vegetarian for 6 years. When I became a vegetarian, I did so to relieve some physical discomfort in my body. You know, when I would eat a piece of like chicken or whatever it was, for a while when I was 19 around, I just felt sick to my stomach. I was like, what am I eating? It was difficult for me to eat it. There was nothing wrong with it in that it was cooked fine, well, seasoned, whatever. But it was just something about the texture, and there was something that I was reacting to. So eventually I said, okay, that's that. And I stopped. And then I switched my diet. I started just eating, because I was working these really long hours at a retail store, like, 8-hour, 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week for like a few months, right? And so, the time to eat is, on your break, of course. So I would get these big salad boxes, those ones from the grocery store. I'd take them home the night before my shift, and I'd prepare a salad for myself with protein and a bunch of yummy stuff. Anyway, so this is what I ate for the next 3 months. And I felt so much better. I felt so nourished. And I was like, I can't go back. I can't go back to the meat, because this is so much better. It's not even just the meat. I wasn't really eating rice very much. It was like this total kind of detox in the way that I was eating. And mind you, it's not like I was eating poorly before when you think about the average kind of diet, I think, in the West, but it wasn't working for my system any longer. I just couldn't work with it. So all of that background is just to say that I had 5 or 6 years of having changed my diet, really just keeping it up because it made me feel good, and it helped me keep, I think, a deeper state of awareness going through my meditation practice. And it's taken all of that time up until maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 months ago, when I started to consider the welfare of animals. And I hadn't done that before. Not at all. It wasn't on my radar. I didn't care, frankly speaking, And it sounds kind of cruel, but I feel the reason I didn't care was as a method to protect myself from the guilt, from, all these negative emotions that come with, frankly, killing other living things in order to eat them, But I couldn't handle that. And so I feel that I did need this 5 years so that I could naturally come to a space where I felt secure enough in myself. I felt enough respect for myself that I was able to start to look at, well, why did I eat animals? What about animals and their welfare? I could now start looking at that. And it's also funny because the only reason I started, I shouldn't say the only reason, the catalyst, the trigger for me looking into the welfare of animals and considering that they deserve to experience happiness, and not be killed for food and, et cetera, all this stuff, right? That came from the story I was just sharing about watching that video with the celebrity and letting my heart into it, letting my heart feel, trusting it to tell me what was right, you know, and to tell me that about what belonged. Um, and it's cool because something I wanted to push to the side, push away, say this does not belong, the celebrities' ideologies about whatever. My heart and its compassion, my feminine energy said, no, it does belong. And so when listening to it, I was able to put aside the ideologies that didn't really concern me and tune into the message of the feelings. And that's a language that we all speak, is feelings, pure, beautiful feelings. Everyone in the world understands that. I was watching a story about a man who married a woman. I think they've been married for like 15 years now or something. And they still don't exactly speak each other's languages very well. But when they first met, they couldn't speak each other's languages. And they got married, which sounds kind of like, whoa. But the fact that they've been together for so long and they seem quite happy from, how he was sharing about her and the way his face looked when he was speaking about her, you could see that their relationship was built on that other 90% of communication. It wasn't built on the words. So again, in our society, we put so much emphasis on the words, the value of the words, but there's so much more, so much depth that's imbued in the words through other forms of communication, primarily through the feelings, through the heart, you know? So anyways, watching that video with the celebrity and feeling that feeling in my heart, I moved on to another video, the next one that kind of came up. And the next one was a video about a cat. And, it was a test for me because my intellect wanted to be like, nope, this is where we draw the line. But again, I was like, okay, I'm going to be humble. I'm not going to be judgmental, saying that this thing is better than me or this thing is worse than me and not worth my time. Intellect's going to step back. The heart was feeling good, I was feeling big and sweet. So the heart's like, okay, we're watching this video with the heart being the one front and center. I'm trusting my heart to tell me what's right, it just by how I feel. And I felt so happy watching that video. It wasn't about, oh, is this legit? Is this actually a cat that meditates? Because that was the whole thing of the video, right? This cat that meditates in this Buddhist monastery. It became more about appreciation, just seeing the cat stare up at, it was Buddhist, right? So staring up at Buddha and just looking at the wide eyes and the posture and how the cat would just sit there for so long. And then the cat would go into the little cafeteria and it would have like soybean soup. And apparently it's what the cat really enjoys, its favorite soup. And as it was tasting the food, a tear was rolling down. Isn't that sweet? And it was striking my heart in such a way, like, if this cat can feel such beautiful feelings, you can't tell me that cat was not feeling good, then I can feel such beautiful feelings too, you know? And it's not about, oh, can animals meditate and all of this stuffy intellectual hypothesizing, etc. I don't think it's about that at all. Yeah. And even watching the video, I didn't consider what it meant. I told myself I wouldn't, let me not focus on that. And I left it because I took so much from the heart aspect. But just now, as I was speaking, a thought came to mind, a feeling about gratitude. I think that's why the cat, that's what I think. I don't know. I'm not the cat, but I feel like maybe that's why the cat shed a tear and she was licking up the soybean soup because of that feeling of gratitude. And it's something that I can relate to. When I've had really deep emotional moments, usually in meditation, when I come out of it and you start doing your normal routine habits, I have experienced that where I start to cry a little bit, or there's just such a deep feeling, but it's happy, I feel happy. So yeah, I feel like maybe that's what was happening. And then even later, they tried to feed the cat fish and the cat was so over it. Like it would not go near it. It just did a little sniff like, nope, I know what that is. And it just dipped. It was like, I do not want any of this. What an incredible cat, because it's a living being. It's a soul, and that's what animals are. They're souls and bodies. But I get it. I was not at the place where I could hear that in my full self-respect. Previously, I couldn't. I had to go through this whole journey and then this journey with the heart. Just these last few months when I could start really looking at the vulnerability in animals, and that they're souls, like with my heart feeling that. I'm happy I got to share. Yeah.